Hello, today we're going to paint the portrait of Sir Paul McCartney. So it's part of a series of the Beatles I've been working on for a little bit. So it's a pretty interesting project, I must say. I'm a big fan of the Beatles, since I was a child. I remember when I was about, 3, 4. My brother he's still, by the way, still 4 years older than me. So we were listening to a lot of songs of the Beatles. So, it's a special thing for me. And, I just watched the movie yesterday and, I decided to do that series. Anyway, so I picked up a black and white photo of them. Right now, of course, I'm working just on Paul, but I will work on the 3 other ones pretty soon. The way I work, so, pretty much the image that is on the upper left corner is projected on my TV set in the studio, so it's on my left. And so I'm working on the canvas. When I decided to use that photo particularly, I took a frame which is about the size of my canvas. So I can work also with empty space, what we call negative space, and positive space. As you can see, I start working with a pretty large brush and I'm painting pretty quickly. I'm just defining the big areas. I'm not trying to go into the details at all. Just trying to find the big pattern, the big composition. There's some couple of details I'm not really interested in, like the hand on the left, or there's something on the top of the head in the center. So I might not paint those things. I don't know. When you start a painting like this, I always start, of course, with an idea, but I'm always willing as well to just let it go, let it flow, and see where I'm coming with. So I started to paint just with black, so basically black color and turpentine, and now I'm starting adding some white, still using a lot of transparency, still, trying to put things pretty much, as a big scale. What I mean by the big scale is that, of course, I'm not projecting. I'm working, pretty much freehand. So it's a lot about the composition, a lot about the distance between things, horizontal, vertical. As I said already, for me, drawing is more of a mental process and color is more of a sensitive process. So drawing like this, is pretty fun. Once again, I don't put any pressure on me. I know it's going to take some time to do that painting, so I'm not trying to, go faster than I can. So when you start a painting like this, just be free. Just imagine you have all the time you need in the world. So that means that, you don't have necessarily to just do everything right away, and just allow yourself for mistakes, because of course I'm going to make mistakes. Of course there's going to be things I'm placing that are not going to be exactly there and so on. So I will move them. I'm just going to work peacefully, I would say, and just taking the time to do the painting. I'm trying to see the big picture. It's always about contrast and composition and relationship between elements. So I'm trying to think in terms of big mass, big surface. The best way I could describe the process is almost like doing a map. It's almost like I'm flying over some field in a plane and I'm just trying to draw the map. I'm really trying to forget what I'm painting. If I start thinking I'm painting an eye, I'm painting a mouse, I'm painting things, of course I put much more pressure on me, because if I do that, then I start naming, and it's a big thing for me, and I will talk about it over and over again, but naming things is the best way to get lost in your work, because you put a lot of pressure on yourself. If you start thinking, okay, I'm painting an eye, I'm painting a nose, I'm painting a mouse, then your brain wants to take over what you see in order to paint what he thinks is a mouse and an eye. A simple thing. I was a comic book artist when I was younger. That was my first, my first love for art. And a lot of comic book artists, a lot of young comic book artists, they don't want to work from life. They don't want to study reality. They don't want to have a model, because they want to work from their mind. What I've noticed is that my mind, the memory, because we don't work from imagination, but more from memory. Because I'm not sure we can repaint or draw what we don't know, what we haven't seen. So by drawing from memory, sometimes I don't have such a large, a wide catalog of shapes and so on. So I'm really trying now not to name things. So it helps me actually to paint almost like an abstract painting. So you see, I'm just putting element composition. Like what I mean by composition. So I'm trying to put those lines in regards to other ones. So I'm not trying to say, okay, this is an eye, this is a nose, whatever. I'm just saying where it is, what color it is. Is it darker? Is it lighter? Is it higher? Is it lower? And so by moving those things and just putting them approximately where they are, right now I'm just drawing a map. It's like doing the map of Paris or any kind of big city, and you just look at the monument and what's important and so on. The other thing that is really, really important, and I want you to be reassured about that, is that anything can be moved. I'm going to work on that painting for a couple of days. I don't know yet how many days, because it's not like I have an idea precisely of where I'm going with that. But I know I can work for like a week if I need to. So I just know today, the first day, the first session, it's gonna be a couple of things here and there, and I'm not gonna try right away to just do everything at once. So I'm confident. I'm not worried. If something's wrong, I will have time to change it. So right now it looks more like a manga character, like a Japanese character. And if I have to take some step back of what I'm doing right now and looking at the painting, I would say, oh my gosh, it doesn't look like Paul McCartney. Of course, it doesn't look like Paul McCartney yet. But if I spend enough time and if I just, judge things and put things in contrast and relationship, maybe at some point it's going to look like him. So let's see where I go with that. So I'm having some fun. I'm working with a lot of turpentine, and I'm also adding liquid. Any kind of be able to accelerate the process of drying. So if I will work on that painting for maybe 15-20 minutes today, and I'm going to let it dry, and I will come back tomorrow. When it's dry, so I can add more things. Working in black and white is really interesting because it's going to give you the knowledge, the understanding of clarity, brightness. So it's funny because when I was in art school, one of my teacher was a great teacher. He was a great painter, and so we were having live models, and like often when you work with models, you mostly in black and white. You consider that light is white and darkness is black. So it's pretty much of a thing. Then when you switch to color and you start painting and not only drawing, then we might have a tendency to do the same. That means that what is in the light is white and what is in the darkness is black. It's really interesting because actually the colors of the whatever it is, the colors are really more important. You don't make light with black and white. You make light with colors when you use colors, of course. And so what he did, he took a large piece of paper and cut opening in it, like holes, and he put it on top of the model so we could see the skin of the model through those holes. I mean, the model was wearing that paper almost like a dress. And then you could realize how much the skin was not white, and she was not especially dark skin. She was a white skin model, but it taught me a lot about, oh my gosh, the skin, the color is actually darker than what I think and what I thought. So as I said, I'm gonna work for how many days? I don't know yet, until the painting is done. So this first session, I don't know, maybe it's going to be 15-20 minutes. I don't know. I don't want to overdo it. You should never work and until you get completely lost. You should always try to work in that area, in that time where you're happy, you have the energy, you want to discover, you want to do something about pleasing yourself as well. Painting is definitely not something that should be that painful. So you see, I'm moving the jaw line, I'm moving the chin, I'm moving the lips, I'm moving everything. I'm still so far away from the likeness. Still look like that Japanese manga character, but little by little, I'm moving things, and I'm looking at things in relationship with the rest. That's the key thing. Don't necessarily look at what you're painting, the area you're painting, but look at it regard to the rest. Where is it regard to the rest? Like, for example, where is the corner of the mouth regard to the eye? So you almost draw like a grid, a mental grid. Some people have to, we could do that actually. We could put a grid on the photo and put a grid on the canvas, and we could sketch it. Yes, the thing is that I don't do it, but I do it. I do it mentally, so I don't have the physical grid draw on the canvas, but I have my own physical grid. The thing is that at the beginning, it's like a discipline. The first painting you're going to do, you might struggle to put the things at the right place. You might have to correct yourself sometime, take some distance, just put the brush down and just look at where the elements are, because sometimes we get caught into the action of painting and we paint, and after a while we realize, oh my gosh, the thing is not where it should be. The eye is too much on the right way, and so on. If you self-correct yourself as you paint, there's some chance you won't have to face that problem. Now, that said, keep in mind that everything is movable. Everything is movable. You can correct yourself the whole time. One of the things, so I work on commission works. I do commission portraits. I think working on commission is really interesting for many reasons. Also because, of the commissioner, because you cannot just get satisfied with what you do. You need to meet the expectation of the commissioner as well. Working on commission like this, sometimes people tell me, can I see the work in progress and so on? And as you can tell, I'm not going to show that, because the person's going to tell me, it doesn't look like Paul. It looks like, that manga character or whatever. So, it's not like I'm painting by numbers, where, I've seen some of portrait painters or some painters who are working like, they're starting from a point and they're like expanding, and so they're painting and they don't go back after to what they've done, or they don't go back a lot. For me, the process is completely different. I paint everywhere on the canvas, and so I can work on the hair, I can work on the mouth, I can work on the eyes, on the ears, everything at the same time, because everything is linked. And what I like is to train my brain to actually see, because the beautiful thing of painting, beside painting, is actually seeing those beautiful harmonies, and each faces is unique. I remember a long time ago, I went to I think it was Disney World or something like this, and there's those guys who do your caricature. You give them $5, $10, $20, whatever, and they have a piece of paper, and you sit on the chair, and they caricature you. Caricaturing is actually how do you say that? It's actually pushing further the particularity of a face, like the distance between two eyes, the length of the nose, the shape of the mouth, and so on. So caricaturing is actually you look at the person and you just exaggerate the proportion. When I paint like this, I usually stay pretty close to likeness. It's I think doing a caricature is amazing. I mean, I love it, it's fun, but for painting like this, I like to stay pretty close to the truth. Now, if you want to, and you might do it because you might not be trained enough to really see the right proportions and so on, I don't care if you do some sort of a caricature. I don't care if the painting at the end doesn't really look like precisely like a photo or so ever, because everybody has its style. Like, for example, I love people like Chaim Soutine or whoever, Picasso, El Greco, people like this, and their paintings is not necessarily completely photorealistic. So if you feel like you want to exaggerate then feel free to do it. Actually, exaggeration is a good way to learn as well, the proportion and so on. So my paintings start being really oily. I have all those layers of colors and so on. I mean, when I say colors, it's black and white, but it's still color. And I start feeling a little bit like it starts being difficult to paint over things because, first of all, my eyes start being tired of looking at the same thing intensively for even 15 minutes. It's a long time to focus. And so I start feeling like, okay, the big shape is here, the big proportion are here. So just trying to correct a couple of things here and there, but I definitely feel like now it's becoming difficult to work in the fresh paint. I still can modify the shapes, and I like that. Actually, I work with my brush. I clean my brush, and actually I have pretty much no colors on it. I'm just making what I call the passage, which means that I'm just doing some transition, grayish light transition, with just almost like a dry brush. So the lines I've painted don't look that harsh. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. Okay, here we are again. I had a good night. I hope you did too. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, actually, I was working on the 4 portraits at the same time. So the 4 Beatles. So I was working on 15 minutes here, 15 minutes here. So the 4 painting took me about I would say 1 hour 30. I take some breaks between. It's important to take breaks. It's important to walk away from the canvas. It's important to clean your eyes. It's why I like to work on several canvas at the same time. So as I say, I'm working on the 4 portrait of Paul, George, Ringo, and John, and so I'm putting them on the easel and rotating them. So I'm going to work, maybe for so yesterday I worked for 15-20 minutes. Actually, I think it was 15, and today I'm going to work again. And once again, I don't know for how long. So now the painting is dry. And of course, it's it's like going back with another coat now and correcting everything I've done. I need to make sure that if the things are not at the right place, I'm going to move them. I'm not going to say, I spent some time on that thing, so it's going to be what it is. No, I'm doing the portrait of someone. That person has special features. I need to be demanding. I just cannot say that's enough. Most of the time, when you say it's enough, it's because it's not enough. Maybe you noticed I changed the scale of my brush. So, at the beginning, I was working with that big, large brush. Then I switched to a smaller one, and now I'm working with even a smaller one. So, depending, of course, of the size of the details. I mean, now working with a really large brush on something like this would be kind of, almost erasing what I've done before. So I like to work, the first brush I was working on was pretty big and round. I don't like rectangular brush. I don't like when the hair are really, in shape of a rectangle or a square. I like when they're rounded. I like to work at the beginning with some round brush, and now I'm working with more of a flat brush. So I'm still correcting. I'm still evaluating the colors. Trying to figure out where are the white spots. And I'm almost like starting, from the beginning I was doing that, but now you see, like, for example, the shape I'm painting right now. You see it's that little thing on the forehead and on the nose. It looks almost like like a tree, something. Sometimes I like to rename things, because obviously by naming them, sometimes I can make some major misunderstanding. So, I'm just trying to think almost like, I would not say abstract, because it's not abstract, it's figurative, but like geometrical shape. Like, what's the length of that rectangle regards to the length of the eye of that ellipse, and so on. I'm trying to think in terms of small things. Doing a portrait is so complex. there's so many things, there's so many parameter, elements. You have the drawing, you have the contrast, the clarity of the color, you have the situation, you have all the passage, you don't want any harsh lines on the face and so on. So there's so many things that we need to control. So just be really gentle with yourself. And once again, don't think that it's a race. It's not a race. You have all the time you need. Actually, the beautiful thing about painting is that relationship with time, is that you have the time you want to put into that thing. If you play a song, there's the length of the song. If you watch a movie, there's the length of the movie. With painting, it's a bit different. So same thing, I'm going to paint until it's pretty strange, or I feel that moment where I have to stop, because everything I've done, I might ruin it because my brain starts being tired. It's almost like I can feel my thought process of just saying, okay, I can still see what's wrong. As soon as I don't see what's wrong anymore, I should stop. So, you don't have to work like me. You don't have to work like for 15, 20 minutes. You can work for 5 minutes. You can work for 2 hours. I don't mind. As long as you stop, painting when you don't know what's wrong and what's not anymore. You still look like a manga character, but it's getting better. So you see, when I talk about the negative space, that's what I mean. Strangely, his haircut is a really big deal. I mean, it's part of the shape of his face. So you can work from the inside and from the outside. And don't try to be too precise. Just right now, I mean, there's so much to do on that painting. I'm still in at that time where I can move everything. I'm still at that time where, it's not precious enough yet for me to care about, ruining something I've done. So if I see something that is not okay, I'm just going to work on it. The likeness is something strange. Sometimes when I work for hours and hours on the portrait, I don't see the portrait anymore. It's almost like I see more the interaction of colors or of lines, of texture and so on. And then I don't see the face anymore. I don't know if you have that feeling sometimes when you look at someone for a very long time, at the face of either your partner, your spouse, your kids, or whatever. At some point, it's almost like you're thinking, why are they so special that I recognize them? And then you start looking at them like a different person. And it happens to me often when I do portraits. When I feel almost like the portrait I'm doing doesn't look like at all the person I'm painting anymore. And the strange thing is that sometimes actually it's the way around. So I'm painting, and then I stop and I say, oh, it doesn't look like that person at all. And then I come back the next day in the studio and I look at it and say, wow, no, actually it kind of look like him. Feel free to turn off the sound and to put some music on. You can watch the video a first time and then just put it on silent and paint. Maybe you need some music. Maybe you need to be. There's a lot of thing in painting that is linked to, I would not say relaxation, because you can paint with a lot of energy and a lot of strength and a lot of almost like violence. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I love expressionism, and there's no way you can paint in an expressionist. Oh, geez, that's hard to say. In an expressionism way, without getting that almost that violence with you, that energy. It's a little bit like It's a little bit like playing, a song of AC/DC, sitting on a chair without moving and just like, no, you have to just like shake the guitar. On the other hand, I don't think you can play, Jesus Joy by, the guitar by Bach with, dancing around and jumping around. So it's a little bit the same about painting. My goal is not to teach you how I paint, because we all have a different approach. My goal is to make you feel comfortable about your own skill and that you can do it. Because first of all, it's not dangerous. Okay, if we go on a racetrack and we take a really fast speed car and we do the racetrack at 200 miles per hour, if we get out of the track, we can die. Here, don't worry, nothing's going to happen to you. You can throw buckets of painting on the canvas. You can fail. You can do whatever you want. There's no consequence. And on top of that, you don't have to show the painting. So, it can be just a private, almost like a private investigation about yourself, about what you can do. I have, as I say, I'm working now with brushes that are smaller and smaller. The size of the brush, can decrease, and it's adapting to where you are in the painting. Like I really like when I start painting working with a large brush. There's something really energetic, really beautiful. Sometimes it's also it's a bit frustrating as well, because sketches are often pretty powerful. You start a painting and after 10 minutes the painting looks good, and then you're going to spend 4 or 5 hours after kind of, I would not say ruining it, but there's something about the spontaneity, about the first 30 minutes on the canvas that is really beautiful. And trying to keep that and not trying to finish a painting is, I think it's important. I think it's important to keep that that energy the whole time. So I'm painting like I was doing at the beginning, but now the scale of the field I'm working on the area I'm working on, is kind of smaller. So now I'm focusing more on small details. It still doesn't look like Paul McCartney, by the way, but it's okay. I've always been interested in portraiture. When I was in art school, I was always working on the faces of the models. I don't know, I think faces are, first, they are difficult to do, but there's also something about the soul, about the I think it's really something magical. And when I started doing portraiture as a professional, like doing commission portraits, I never planned to be a portrait. I mean, I don't like the word portrait artist. I never planned to do portraits. I knew I would paint faces, but just focusing on portraits, that was not really my plan. Even when I go in museum, it's always what moves me the most. When I started doing portrait, actually the story is that a friend of mine one day came to me and said, "Can you do the portrait of my kids?" And it's at the time I was painting in a more expressionist way, so it was kind of fun, and he was my friend and he was a painter, so he didn't care if his kids look different than the way they look in the real life. But with time I had to become more and more demanding, because when you work with people who commission me to do the portrait, they most of the time they want the painting to look like the model, which is weird. And no, it's not. It's just, I understand that. It cannot just be the pleasure of the painter. It cannot just be, you saying, what, I can do whatever I want, they're going to buy it. No. And so it happened to me several times where I was doing a portrait where I got completely frustrated, lost. And I look at the painting and I was just like, I'm never going to make it. To the point where sometimes I was taking a bucket of white painting, and after 15, 20 hours working on the painting, I was just covering the face and starting from scratch, because I almost felt like when I was lost, I could not get back. when I was out of the track, when the eye was too high or the mouse was not blah blah, I was just like, okay, no, I need to redo it because I lost it. I feel differently now. I feel like it's okay. It's okay. I have time. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of patience, and it's just a matter of being a bit demanding, and always going back to what I see. So my little manga guy started looking a little bit like a British guy, and like a Beatles. But I'm still not there. Still not happy. I'm still not. I'm happy to paint, but I'm still not satisfied with the painting. So far, it's been, pretty much like 30 minutes. So, if to get where I am right now, it takes you 3 or 4 hours, it's okay. And if it takes you 5 minutes, it's you're fast. So, do it at your rhythm. You don't have to paint as fast as I do. And the thing is that I've done so many portraits over the last 35 years that now it's almost like a mechanical thing in my mind where I can first of all I paint really fast, and even in the art school I was a really fast painter, and so don't feel the pressure of saying, oh my gosh, it's been 30 minutes and I've just started. Just pause the video, just put it on pause, rewind it, turn off the sound, just look at the photo. I'm sure you understand the process. The process is pretty simple to understand. What is more difficult is to have the discipline to stick with it and not to say, you know what, that's enough. No, just be gentle with yourself. If you get a little bit frustrated, lost, if it's a bit too complicated, just, put everything on pause, put your brushes away, walk around your house, and, we'll figure it out. So I had another good night of sleep, and I'm back in the studio. So the painting is dry. And I'm going to start again. When I say start again, it's actually start again. So that means I'm arriving on that painting not feeling I have to finish it. I'm starting the painting exactly the way I started when the canvas was white. I'm looking at things, judging things, if that thing is at the right position, not the right position, and if something's wrong, I'm going to move it. That's the whole point about taking 24 hours of break. That's about walking away, looking at the painting differently, and walking in the room like it's a total new painting, like you've never seen it before. So as I'm working now, I'm getting closer and closer from from getting the right texture and so on. So now, of course, I'm working with less and less painting. My brush now is almost like dry. I would say dry. It's not dry, but so basically, when I mix the painting on the palette before going on the canvas, I wipe it off in a piece of cloth. So I don't bring too much painting, because too much painting would just make things really complicated now, because it would just like it would just like make the thing bringing too much, So my brush is, not loaded with a lot of painting, and now I'm working a lot about details. So once again, I'm trying to judge colors, like what is darker, where it is lighter, where is the eyebrow linked to the other one, what are the space between them. I'm going on making that mental grid. And it's not only about the location, it's also about the nature of what I'm locating. Like, if I wanted to make a little analogy, pretty simple, I would say, for example, let's say what is like, if it's a giant building, it's going to be really dark black. And I'm still mapping, I'm still saying, okay, where is that street regard to that place, regard to that courtyard, regard to that building, blah, blah, blah. So I'm really trying not to see the painting as a portrait, but more as a surface that include relationship between lights and whites and grays and black, and I'm just trying to organize them in a way that they they look like what I'm testifying, what I'm witnessing. I'm still really unhappy with everything. Don't think once again I'm looking at that painting while I'm painting, thinking, oh my gosh, it's great. No, no, no. I'm just like, oh my gosh, am I ever gonna? I mean, I'm not really wondering that, because, as I said, and now I'm pretty confident that if I spend enough time, I'm gonna make it. It's like climbing a giant mountain. If you have no training, if it's the first time you climb the mountain, you might just feel after 1 or 2 hours of walking that you're not fit, you cannot make it, and you might not be able if you're not trained. Now, if you have enough training, you're going to suffer. There's going to be times where your legs are going to be painful, and you're going to be thirsty, and you might want even to give up. But also that you don't want to give up, and the more you train, the more you're going to get to that place. So you don't have to start one painting and just say, I need to finish this one. No, as I say, it's why I'm working on that series with the four of them, with the four Beatles, because I think what's interesting is it's not one painting, it's four. So, what you can do is just to switch to another one if you feel like it's too much. And, you can work on John or Ringo or George. So you see, I'm still managing the passage, what I call the passage. The passage is actually, in portraiture, sometimes the difficult thing is, I mean, mostly with me. So, I have to tell you that I have a little bit, I usually wear glasses, now reading glasses, but I need glasses to see from the distance. I don't have a big problem, but I have a problem enough so I can drive without glasses, but still my vision is not completely fair or good. And so I realized that when I wear my reading glasses and I look at my paintings, actually I see different paintings because I see blurry a little bit, and I think it kind of helped me. You can squint your eye. That really helps to see the big picture and not to see just the details, because if you look at the photo too much, you're going to start counting the hair on his head. Once you start doing that, you're kind of toasted, because of course it's going to overwhelm your brain. You're going to say, oh my gosh, it's so complicated there. So now if you look at the whole thing more as a simplistic, simplify, surface and shapes and so on, it's definitely, it makes things easier. So I'm starting having a smoother, um, um, texture on the skin, and as I paint, as I said, I'm organizing those passages with blending actually, and you see, I don't work on one area that's really important, actually. I don't work on one area, like one eye. Let's say I'm going to work on this eye and I'm going to finish it. And I'm going to work for like 3 hours on this eye and I just won't let it go until it's done. I don't do that. I never do that. I'd rather work from, a little bit of the one eye, then I go to the ear, then I go to the shoulder, then I go to the chin, then I go to another place. The reason I do that, it's because I know that if I work too much on a thing, I'm going to stop seeing it, actually. I'm going to start naming. I'm going to start saying, oh, this is, the corner of the eye, blah, blah, blah. So, and I don't want to do that. I really want to make everything belonging to the same image. So it's why I'm moving from one thing to the other. It's almost like, we joke with a friend about it once in a while, but, we say we ADD. And actually, I think painting is a little bit about being ADD. Because when you think about it, when you look at that photo, I don't care if it's Paul McCartney or whoever, it's an amazing image as it is, like this whole combination of gray, of white, of black, of as it is, it's something fantastic. Our vision is something fantastic. And sometimes I'm wondering, because as a painter, pretty much my job is to watch. So I look a lot, and sadly a lot of people don't have neither either the conscience or the pleasure or even the understanding of how beautiful things are. So you see now my brush is pretty tiny. And so I'm working on, it's all about the scale. I'm not working on details. I'm still doing the same mental process, but I just magnify some areas. So, and I work from a TV screen. I don't work from photos, and we'll see that in my videos about presenting my studio. What I like about TV screen, if you look at if you look at my video about color theory, so right now I'm working on a black and white photo. So yeah, it's but even black and white, actually, you never can trust a printer. I feel like the TV screen is more accurate. And when I have the face of Paul or whoever on my TV screen, not necessarily when it's black and white, but when it's in color, I really feel like I have the model in my studio. So as you can tell, the comic, there was a time, remember at the beginning where the painting looked like almost like a comic. And now what we're seeing is that it starts looking more and more like a photography, because the passage, what I'm talking about. I still like to keep those areas that are really so painterly, like his jacket, like the top of his head, where you can basically say, yeah, of course it's a painting. And I like to lure people and to make them feel like they don't even pay attention to those rough areas, and they just see the almost like likeness photorealism. Okay, I might be done for the day, so good night. Okay, day 4. We're at about 40 minutes on the painting. I spent pretty much the same time on the 4 of them, which is pretty strange. That pretty imply that I have some sort of a mechanic clock in my mind about the time I'm capable to work and about what I can get in that time I'm working. So now it's I still don't know how many days I'm going to spend on that. Maybe it's the last day. Maybe I will need 2 or 3 more days. I don't know. So I go back to stage 1, which is gridding. Where is the darkest point, where is the lightest point, where is the corner of the eye regard to the nose twill, regard to the mouth, and I'm still at that point able to move things around. If I remember well, I think I brought some light with a larger brush at some point. What I like as well is because, as I say, I work with liquid, so the painting is dry right now. So I'm just working on the dry painting. So it makes things, for me, I love it because I like things that are blend. It's funny because I'm not I'm still a young painter, but I'm starting having some hours and some mileage. And now I feel like my painting is almost becoming natural. There was a very long time where I was making choices because I had that skill that was allowing me to paint a different way. Now I realize that my painting is more the result of my practice than the result of choices I'm making about doing that or that. So once again, don't worry. As long as you work, as long as you build that thing, you're going to develop your own style. You're going to develop your own personality. Don't look for yourself, because you don't have to look for yourself. You're there. The only thing you can do is just to go where you are. And you know, it's pretty strange because sometimes I mean, I do the same thing, you know, several times. It's not because the first time was not the good one. It's just because I can do better. You know, it just you know, when I for example, I was looking at, you know, my brush working on the white of the eye. I've done that thing maybe 3 or 4 times during the process of that painting. But each time I change a tiny bit. Each time I get closer to you know, to the way he looks and so on. So once again, I'm never worried about changing something that doesn't work, or even if it works, if I can make it work better, then, you know, I should not hesitate to change it. You know, it's pretty incredible because um, some people say, you know, it's more difficult to paint a portrait than to paint a landscape, a tree, or whatever. Actually, when you think about it, okay, so everybody is different. Every face is different. You know, to the point where you know, there's so many different you know, faces in the world that it's just unbelievable. But you know, if you paint a tree, each tree is different. So once you train painting a portrait or painting something, you know, that maybe you think is really difficult, like yeah, like a face, it's going to help you next time you paint a tree, because all that discipline, all that knowledge you will have acquired by painting that portrait, you can put it in the you know, in the process of painting that tree. So when you paint a landscape, don't paint a tree, paint that tree. And it's the same thing for you know, for portraiture and so on. I don't think it's more difficult to paint a portrait than to paint anything else, to be honest. I think if you're demanding, it's the same process. It's about watching, it's about discovering all those complex relationships that, you know, sometimes when I look at my paintings, I don't even at the portrait, I don't even understand really what's the, you know, or I was able to make it so far. So we're about at 45 minutes now, a little bit more. Um, as you can tell, the you know, the roughness of the beginning is kind of gone now. But once again, just a matter of scale. I mean, if I get if I take a photo, a close up of any part of that painting, and, you know, fill up the screen with it, you will see that it looks exactly the same thing than when I started the painting. It's just a matter of scale. It's just a matter of what's the size of my brushwork. And you see, I work a lot on the light. You know, the likeness is not necessarily always about the lines. Actually, it's often about the light. The reason why it's pretty strange, you know, it's like you walk in the street and you turn around and you see a friend of yours. How long does it take for you to recognize that face that you've seen so many times? But you just know it in barely a tenth of a second or half of a second. So, you know, if you can paint this way, if you can paint a portrait like that first second you see that person, that you recognize that person, then you get the big features. You get the big features. You know, you get the big, you know, the big proportion and so on. You know, for example, right now I'm working on his nose, and I'm, you know, and so as I said, I'm working on the light. I'm working on the big surfaces. You know, the big interaction of his face. It's pretty sad they split. You're a pretty good band. I must admit that male faces, men are easier to paint than kids and female, because usually the lines are a bit, more stronger. Like for example, kiddos, their little nose, their little mouth, and so on. It's more difficult. When you have someone with a really strong face and strong features, it's easier. That doesn't mean it's you can be less demanding, but for sure it's more forgivable. So I'm getting closer and closer to what I think is acceptable. The whole concept of finishing a painting is complex. Of course, on a portrait, you can work for not a lifetime. There might be a point where you think like, you cannot do more. Actually, I think really that's when a painting is done. It's when you feel like you reach something, you reach a point where maybe you could do better, but it's maybe you're not there yet. Maybe that better you could do, you'll be there in 2 weeks or a month. So you see, I messed up a little bit, and I correct. Now just some little touch up. I feel I'm almost there. And I'm kind of happy with Mr. Paul. It was fun painting you, sir. So maybe you can play the Beatles music while you're painting. That's pretty cool. Anyway, that painting is going to be over soon. I hope you had a good time, and join us for the 3 other ones and the color series as well. And don't hesitate to contact me or leave some feedback on my website. Okay, have a great day.